All right, thou shalt not kill. Pro-life Nova Scotia, right? That's what it's all about. Pro-life Nova Scotia. Thou shalt not kill. So easy. Very, very easy. My name is John Michael, and I am missing a 10-year-old. I'm missing a 10-year-old. I am missing a 10-year-old son. And I know that this 10-year-old son was very, very special and could have been a great man. Not only a great man, a great father, a great grandfather, and an ancestor to a whole lot of other babies, right? So the embryo is the most precious, most valuable thing on the earth. From the top of the mountains to the deepest trench, I don't care what you got to say. The baby is the most important thing here. And I used to be a baby, right? And who else did used to be a baby, right? You. All right, so let's go back to the moral imperative and the commandment. All right, so what is the law? Well, the law is thou shalt not kill. You cannot kill, and that's the oldest and perhaps most fashionable, you know, transgression that there is, right? So in this case, the moral imperatives transcend legal formalities. The fundamental principle that human life is sacred and should not be taken lightly is enshrined in universal ethical standards and in particular in religious doctrines such as the commandment thou shalt not kill. This commandment has been a moral cornerstone for centuries, affirming the inviolability of human life. So the loss of my son, as a result of Dr. Dow's actions, as a direct result of Dr. Dow's action, is not merely a medical incident, but a tragic loss of life, one that was not only valuable but irreplaceable. Where else am I going to get my son? Where else can I find him? He's irreplaceable. He's gone forever. Hey. So the child has intact DNA, right? Representing the continuation of a family legacy, and was a unique human being with inherent value. To discard human life, as has occurred in this case, is an act that violates the core tenets of humanity, which value each individual as an irreplaceable being, right? So if you're going to sit there and say, oh, we evolved from monkeys and there's, billions and billions of years and all this stuff, well, yeah, of course you're going to think it's okay and fashionable to, murder. But if you, can justify that for your own self, don't trust the TV to tell you that your ancestor was a monkey. And if you have any kind of idea about any kind of thing at all, you'll see that your grandfather's not a monkey. I mean, that kind of idea is preposterous, and to put forward that kind of nonsense in a serious manner would just, is the reason that we have this kind of thing, right? So, from a moral standpoint, the sanctity of human life must be held above all else, regardless of the nuances and complexities of medical procedure or the legal framework. The inestimable value of the child's DNA and the emotional, physiological, and moral injury caused by the loss of life is something that transcends any legal defense or ethical justifications that may be offered in favor of medical procedures that result in the termination of a pregnancy, right? So then you got the defense counsel saying, oh, yeah, but, the 1988 case, it's the what I like to call the Roe versus Wade of Canada, right? It's a 1988 case that basically gives the right to kill your own child, right? The woman, I don't even want to go there because it just I was born in 1988 and I could have been aborted, right? And I talked to some people and they say, man, I could have been aborted. I could have been aborted. But what about the people that cannot say that, right? We have to be a voice for the voiceless. We have to shake some sense into these honorable, learned judges, right? If I was an honorable, learned judges and I would see this kind of stuff, I'd be like, okay, first of all, why does law disagree with medical science, right? Why does law disagree with medical science? Well, the problem is that you got these corrupt politicians accepting bribes from the pharmaceutical executives, and now they have a beautiful villa in the Caribbean with a yacht and all this stuff. But what about society? Well, who cares? We can just throw society under the bus. They're going to have a lot of splaining to do when it comes down to, I don't know if you're religious or whatever, but I mean, you're going to have to face St. Peter and all this stuff. You don't get to that kind of idea. I mean, if you want, I'm not gonna pretend that this is a theological channel. It's not. It's a truth law, facts and evidence. But certainly, there's going to be some splaining to do when you get to St. Peter. Hey, should I let you in? You know that song, knock knock knocking on heaven's door. What does that mean? You ever hear that? Oh, you're not knocking on heaven's door. That's cute. No, it's not. That means you're knocking on. That means the door's closed. That means eternal hell. Right? So you're knocking on heaven's door. St. Peter's like, well, I mean, you killed a whole bunch of babies. I mean, are you? What kind of riffraff do you think we're going to let in? This is heaven here, right? So, heaven or hell. If you believe in that kind of stuff, it's certainly reasonable to reasonable arguments in favor of the doctrine of eternal hell, right? For example, in the New Testament, the doctrine of eternal hell, right? You do some terrible things, you kill a whole bunch of babies, you're going to go to hell, and there's the forgiveness of sins and all this stuff, and the New Testament offers the that's for forgiveness of sins and all this stuff. But when you start believing that your grandfather's a monkey and all this stuff, and then you think that women's rights will empower you to kill your own children and all this stuff, you're playing with the fire. I mean, you're knocking on heaven's door, and at the end of your life, I mean, you draw your last breath. Where are you going to go? Okay, well, we're going to go to the ground, and it's just nothing. Well, I mean, that's a doctrine of annihilation or whatever. That's a type of religious doctrine or whatever that atheists like to put forward. But we're not really talking about theology here on this channel. We're talking about right here, and if we can prevent one. This whole channel, let's say for example, Pro-Life Nova Scotia. Let's say for example, there's, goes somewhere. I don't know if I made other YouTube channels. It didn't go anywhere. I made the YouTube channel about my book, and then that was the same kind of subject matter here, except this is a little bit more about the law, about the the courts or whatever. But the other YouTube channel was about the very very clear, concise evidence about the abortifacient to birth control not preventing pregnancy and killing the baby in the later and healthy stage of development, which is implantation. And check that out on my other YouTube channel if you're interested. And the MAID, right? The MAID. Why are you not using anesthesiologists for MAID? Why are you not using anesthesiologists? See, Dr. Michelle Dow is very, very dodgy, man. She does all kinds of weird stuff. And then I'm calling her out because, I mean, this is my family's honor that she's doesn't really care about. I mean, the family's honor is not going to be you showing up on the national the national news, right? The public broadcaster, showing your face on the national news and say, I stand up for women's rights and I do pap tests and I that's dodgy in itself. Whatever. I'm not even going to start because I heard some weird stuff about some pap tests and all this stuff, but I just don't really care about that. The only thing I care about is the greatest imaginable atrocity that has ever happened. I mean, this is straight up genocide. This is a crime against humanity far worst. You think, the 6 million? Yeah, 6 million? No. This is more. Much more. Much more. What do you think an embryo is? It's not a baby yes, it is. Okay? It's a human life. An embryo is a baby. An embryo is a baby. I don't care. Day 0, hour 0, second 0, millisecond, the moment that the sperm meet. What a beautiful moment. Let's just talk about how beautiful it is for a minute. Right? How beautiful is that moment when the sperm meets the egg? Okay, it's a good time. The dad and the mom are together. We're married because we're a family and all that stuff, and the kids are asleep, and then the mom and the dad are together because they love each other, and then the baby is conceived. How beautiful is life, right? Life is so very, very beautiful. I think so. Anyway, I mean, that's my personal opinion. Life is very, very beautiful. There's flowers. I like to bring my daughter a flower every time I'm driving on the road and I see a flower. I literally stop and I get my daughter a flower and I pick it for her and I give it to her and she's so happy, right? I've been doing that every day recently. Life is beautiful. Life is certainly beautiful. But then you got these goons, government goons, and it's always from the government. This is state-sponsored. I don't know if I made that point yet, but this is state-sponsored. I guess we should talk a little bit about that in the next video. State-sponsored destruction of our society. The state-sponsored. What is the responsibility of a government is to keep society intact and promote health and all this stuff. But they don't. They actively destroy us, and it's quite egregious what the government is doing, to the point where taxpayer-funded abortions. All right, thank you very much. We'll talk about that in the next video. I think we should stop it. 10 minutes. Yeah, let's take a break.